The first howl cut through the hymn like a blade. It wasn't close, more like it rose from the tree line beyond the cemetery, long and aching, the kind of sound that makes your chest tighten before your mind understands why. The pastor faltered mid-verse. A child began to cry. Wind pressed against the black umbrellas, bending them like bruised flowers. Then the dog stepped into view. A German shepherd, mud-streaked and broad-shouldered, ribs faintly visible beneath a winter-thick coat. It stood at the crest of the hill overlooking the grave of Deputy Aaron Caldwell, head thrown back, throat trembling, eyes locked on the coffin as if it recognized the man inside. And it would not stop howling. If you're drawn to stories that linger, where grief opens doors better left closed, you're in the right place. Stay with this one. Some truths surface slowly. Blackstone Hollow wasn't the kind of town where strangers appeared unnoticed. Population: 1,842. One gas station. One diner. A sheriff's department small enough that everyone knew which cruiser belonged to which deputy. The mountains curled around it like protective hands, except sometimes they felt more like a trap. Deputy Aaron Caldwell had grown up there. Married there. Died there. The official story was clean. Single vehicle accident. Icy road. Late shift. Tragic but straightforward. At least that's what Sheriff Nolan Pierce had said at the press briefing. His jaw had tightened in that way people mistook for composure. Now Pierce stood at the edge of the open grave, hat in hand, eyes hollow. Rain slicked his silvering hair against his temples. He had trained Aaron. Watched him make mistakes. Watched him learn. Watched him pull a boy from a burning truck 6 months ago. The coffin rested on straps above the dark mouth of the earth. And the dog howled again. It stepped closer this time. Murmurs rippled through the gathered mourners. "Whose dog is that?" someone whispered. "Never seen it before." "It's been hanging around town this week," old Mr. Hargrove muttered. "Saw it near the sawmill." Emma Caldwell lifted her head. She had been staring at the coffin without blinking, as though if she looked away it might vanish. Her black coat swallowed her frame. Grief had sharpened her face, carved shadows beneath her eyes. The sound of the dog cut through her like memory. She turned slowly. The German shepherd was descending the hill now, paws sure despite the slick grass. Its gaze never left the coffin. Not once. The pastor cleared his throat. Perhaps someone could. But before anyone moved, the dog reached the edge of the grave. It did not bark. It did not growl. It lowered its head and let out a low, trembling whine, then began to dig. Gasps. Mud flew against polished shoes. Sheriff Pierce stepped forward instinctively. "Hey!" he barked. "Get back!" The dog ignored him. Its claws struck the wooden edge of the coffin with a hollow thud. Emma inhaled sharply. The sound of wood under claw was wrong. Too immediate. Too desperate. "Stop!" she cried. The dog froze. Slowly, it looked up at her. Its eyes were amber, not wild, not confused. Focused. Knowing. Sheriff Pierce reached for the animal's collar. There was none. No tags. No chip tag glinting in its ear. Nothing to claim it. The dog stepped back on its own, chest heaving. It stared at Emma for 3 long seconds. Then it howled again. Not at the sky. At the coffin. After the service, the dog did not leave. It lingered near the fresh mound of soil long after the last car disappeared down the gravel road. Rain thinned into mist. The sky lowered. Emma remained too. She stood alone beside the grave, hands in her coat pockets, shoulders rigid. Sheriff Pierce approached quietly. "Emma, you shouldn't stay out here." She didn't look at him. He hated being cold. Pierce swallowed. "It's only temporary." A bitter sound escaped her. Temporary. They both watched the dog sitting 10 yards away. "Is it his?" Pierce asked gently. "Aaron never wanted a dog," she replied. "Said the job was enough responsibility." The dog shifted, ears pricking toward the trees. Emma studied it. There was something wrong, not physically. Something in the way it held itself. Alert. Trained. Like it was waiting for a command that never came. Pierce exhaled. "I'll call animal control." No, the word came too fast. He looked at her. She softened slightly. Not today. The dog rose and approached slowly. Emma's pulse fluttered, but she didn't step back. It stopped within arm's reach. Mud streaked its muzzle. A thin scar ran along its flank, half hidden beneath fur. Not a stray's scar. Clean. Surgical. She knelt despite herself. Up close, the dog smelled faintly of pine sap and something metallic beneath it. Gun oil. Her stomach turned. She whispered, "What do you know?" The dog's ears flicked. In the distance, thunder rolled over the mountains. That night, the howling returned. It came from beyond Emma's bedroom window, threading through the darkness like a thread pulled tight. She lay awake staring at the ceiling. The accident had happened 3 nights ago. Aaron had been responding to a call, domestic disturbance on Route 17. The cruiser had gone off the road, down an embankment. Impact severe. Fire contained quickly. Closed casket recommended. Closed casket insisted upon. She had said yes, because she couldn't bear the alternative. The howl came again, closer. Emma rose and crossed to the window. The dog stood in her yard, still, watching the house. A chill slid down her spine. She opened the front door before she could talk herself out of it. Cold air rushed in. The dog did not retreat. "Why are you here?" she asked softly. It took 1 step forward, then turned, then looked back at her. An invitation. Emma hesitated. Grief makes people reckless. It narrows the world until only one question matters. She grabbed her coat and followed. The dog led her past the mailbox, across the narrow road, toward the tree line bordering the old logging trails. "Where are you taking me?" she whispered. The forest swallowed sound. Branches scraped in the wind. The dog moved with purpose, never too fast, never losing her. After 10 minutes, they reached a clearing. An abandoned hunting cabin slumped at its center. Emma recognized it. It belonged to Caleb Rourke. Her breath stalled. Caleb had grown up with Aaron, joined the Marines, came back different, quieter, harder. Now he worked odd jobs and kept mostly to himself. Aaron had mentioned him the night before the accident. Said they needed to talk. About what, he hadn't said. The dog approached the cabin door and scratched once. Emma's pulse thundered. She stepped closer. The door was slightly ajar. Inside, darkness. And something else. The faint scent of smoke. Not old. Recent. The dog slipped inside. Emma followed. The cabin interior was sparse. Table, cot, rusted stove. And on the table, a sheriff's department radio. Cracked. Soot-stained. Her breath left her lungs. Aaron's radio had been destroyed in the fire. That's what Pierce had said. The dog nudged the table. The radio fell to the floor. And from its broken casing, something small and metallic slid free. A flash drive. Emma stared at it. The dog sat, waiting. Outside, branches snapped. Footsteps. Emma's head jerked toward the door. A silhouette filled the frame. Broad shoulders. Familiar stance. Caleb Rourke. His voice was calm. "You shouldn't be here, Emma." The dog stood between them. Low growl building in its throat. Caleb's eyes flicked to the animal, then back to her. "You don't understand what you're digging into." Emma's fingers closed around the flash drive. "Then help me understand." The wind slammed the cabin door shut behind him. Darkness swallowed the room. And the dog began to bark. The bark wasn't wild. It was warning. Sharp. Measured. Controlled. The kind of bark trained into an animal taught not just to attack, but to signal. Caleb Rourke didn't flinch when the cabin door slammed behind him. He didn't raise his hands. Didn't step back. His boots were planted like he had expected this moment for days. "Easy," he said quietly, to the dog, not Emma. The German shepherd's growl deepened, chest vibrating, teeth flashing in the low light bleeding through the warped window panes. Emma's fingers tightened around the flash drive. Her pulse hammered so loudly she could barely hear her own voice. "Why is Aaron's radio here?" Caleb's eyes flicked to the cracked device on the floor. Something unreadable moved behind his expression. Regret. Calculation. It shouldn't be, he said. That's not an answer. Outside, wind combed through the trees. The forest pressed close to the cabin walls as if listening. The dog shifted slightly, positioning itself between Emma and Caleb with deliberate precision. Caleb noticed. You've got no idea what that animal is trained for, he said. Emma swallowed. Do you? A long silence stretched. Yes. The admission settled like ash. Caleb moved slowly, deliberately lowering himself into the chair near the table. The wood creaked under his weight. I didn't bring that radio here, he said. But I know how it got here. Emma didn't sit. She didn't relax. Then explain. He glanced at the dog again. That shepherd isn't a stray. He's a former K-9. Her breath caught. Aaron had once mentioned pushing for a K-9 unit in Blackstone Hollow. Budget had killed it. What unit? She asked. State Task Force. Narcotics and cross-county enforcement. They rotate through rural areas when there's trafficking concerns. Trafficking. Her voice cracked on the word. Caleb leaned forward, elbows on knees. There's a corridor running through these mountains. Old logging roads no one monitors. Moves product quiet. Pills. Fentanyl. Sometimes worse. Emma stared at him. Aaron had responded to a domestic disturbance the night he died. That's what they'd told her. What does that have to do with my husband? She whispered. Caleb hesitated. The dog's growl softened but didn't disappear. You need to understand something first, Caleb said. Aaron wasn't just responding to random calls anymore. The room tilted slightly. What are you saying? He found something. The words landed heavy. Emma's fingers trembled around the flash drive. Found what? Caleb stood slowly, hands visible, movements controlled. He reached for the lantern near the stove and lit it. Yellow light pushed back the shadows. You remember that warehouse fire last fall? He asked. She nodded faintly. Electrical fault. That's what the report said. He met her eyes. It wasn't. A slow chill climbed her spine. Aaron pulled a body out of that warehouse, Caleb continued. Young guy. No ID. No record. But he had injection marks and chemical burns. Emma's throat tightened. And, she pressed, and the state boys showed up before the coroner. Before paperwork. Before anything. The dog's ears twitched at a distant sound outside. Then settled. Caleb's jaw hardened. They shut it down fast. Said it was above county jurisdiction. Why didn't Aaron tell me? She whispered. Caleb's voice dropped. Because he didn't know who he could trust. The words hung between them. You? She asked quietly. A flicker of something passed through his eyes. Hurt. Maybe anger. I told him to let it go. Did he? No. Emma looked down at the flash drive in her hand. This is from the radio. Yes. Which was supposed to be destroyed in the crash. Yes. The lantern flame guttered. Was it destroyed? She asked. Caleb's silence was answer enough. The dog suddenly turned toward the back wall of the cabin, nose lifting, muscles tensing. Emma followed its gaze. Footsteps. Not Caleb's. Outside. Slow. Measured. Circling. Caleb extinguished the lantern in one swift motion. Darkness swallowed them whole. The dog's growl was now low and lethal. Emma's breathing sounded too loud. Who knows you're here? She whispered. No one, Caleb murmured. Unless someone followed you. Her stomach dropped. The dog moved toward the back of the cabin, pressing its body against the wood paneling as if triangulating sound. A beam of light sliced across the front window. Flashlight. Emma's heart stuttered. Caleb leaned close, voice barely air. Listen to me. If that's who I think it is, you don't mention the drive. Who? But she already knew. Sheriff Nolan Pierce. The front door handle rattled. Caleb. Pierce's voice called calmly through the wood. I know you're in there. The dog bared its teeth silently. Caleb didn't answer. Pierce knocked once. Hard. "Emma," he added. Her blood ran cold. He knew. She felt Caleb's eyes on her in the darkness. The sheriff tried the handle again. Locked. "Open the door," Pierce said. "No." The dog's body coiled like a spring. Emma's mind raced. Pierce had been Aaron's mentor. Pierce had insisted on a closed casket. Pierce had handled the accident scene personally. The dog let out a single sharp bark. Pierce's voice changed subtly, edge creeping in. "Call off the animal, Caleb. Call off." Emma's pulse roared. The sheriff knew the dog wasn't random. Caleb moved toward the door. Emma grabbed his arm. "Don't." "He'll break it down," Caleb whispered. The flashlight beam shifted, angling toward the side window. Pierce was repositioning. The dog moved with precision to the window's blind spot. Caleb made a decision. He unlatched the door. Pierce stepped in immediately, rain-speckled hat low over his eyes. Gun holstered but hand resting close. His gaze swept the room. Paused on Emma. Then on the dog. Recognition flickered. "Well," Pierce said evenly. "There you are." The dog's growl deepened. Pierce gave it a long look. "You were supposed to be transferred," he muttered. Emma felt something inside her snap into focus. "You know this dog," she said. Pierce looked at her slowly. "Yes." Silence. "How?" she pressed. He removed his hat, rain dripping from its brim. "Because that shepherd was assigned to a task force investigating distribution routes through this county." Emma's heart pounded. "And," she demanded, "and your husband got too close." The words were delivered without inflection. Caleb stepped forward. "That's not the whole truth." Pierce's eyes hardened. "Careful." The dog suddenly barked, sharp and explosive, at Pierce. Pierce didn't flinch. Instead, he looked at Emma. "You think accidents don't happen on icy roads?" he asked quietly. "You think men don't lose control?" Her voice trembled. "Did he?" A long pause. Pierce's jaw flexed. "He was chasing something he didn't understand," the sheriff said. "People higher than me. Higher than this town." "Did you kill him?" Emma whispered. The cabin air felt thin. Pierce's gaze didn't waver. "No." It wasn't a lie. But it wasn't the whole truth either. Caleb spoke. "You tampered with the cruiser." Pierce's eyes flicked to him. "I removed evidence that would have gotten more people killed." The dog barked again. Emma's thoughts raced. "You covered it up," she said. "Why?" Pierce stepped closer. "To contain it." "Contain what?" "Exposure." The word fell heavy. Pierce lowered his voice. "The trafficking ring isn't just backwoods dealers. It's contractors. Funding. People who don't appreciate loose ends." "And Aaron was a loose end?" Emma asked. "He was a good deputy," Pierce said. "But he didn't know when to stop." The dog's growl vibrated through the floorboards. Emma felt something cold and steady settle inside her. "Did he record something?" she asked. Pierce's eyes flicked, just briefly, to her clenched hand. "He saw it. The flash drive." His voice changed. "Give it to me." "No." The tension snapped like wire. Pierce's hand moved toward his holster. The dog launched. It didn't attack Pierce's throat. Didn't maul. It hit his gun hand with surgical precision, jaws clamping down just hard enough to force him to drop the weapon. The gun skidded across the floor. Caleb kicked it away. Pierce stumbled back, cursing. The dog released instantly and repositioned, barking furiously. Emma stared at the animal. Trained. Disciplined. Protective. Pierce cradled his bleeding hand, eyes blazing. "You don't know what you're unleashing," he hissed. "Then tell me," Emma said. For a moment, something almost human flickered across his face. Fear. Not for himself. For what would surface. "You think the task force answers to me," he said. "You think I orchestrated this? Didn't you?" Caleb shot back. Pierce looked at Emma again. "Your husband sent that drive to someone before he died." The room went still. What? She breathed. Pierce nodded slowly. He didn't trust me by the end. He didn't trust anyone. He set something in motion. Emma's mind reeled. To who? She demanded. Pierce's expression darkened. That's what I've been trying to find out. The dog barked sharply at Emma's side, as if urging. Move. Choose. Caleb stepped closer to her. We need to see what's on it. Pierce's voice turned cold. If that data goes public without context, it won't just take down dealers. It'll collapse funding, partnerships. It'll invite scrutiny this town can't survive. This town, Emma whispered. Or you. Pierce didn't answer. The dog stared at her, waiting. Emma felt the weight of grief shift into something sharper. Purpose. You said he got too close, she said quietly. Close to what? Pierce's silence stretched long enough to confirm everything. Corruption didn't live somewhere distant. It lived here. In uniforms. In offices. In men who believed they were protecting something bigger than the truth. Emma closed her eyes briefly. When she opened them, she had made her choice. She stepped back from Pierce. Move, she said. Caleb grabbed the gun from the floor. The dog barked once, sharp, decisive. And outside, in the forest beyond the cabin, engines roared to life. More than one. Pierce's expression changed instantly. That's not my backup, he said. The dog's ears shot up. Headlights flickered through the trees. Caleb swore under his breath. Emma clutched the flash drive. Who are they? She asked. Pierce's voice dropped to a whisper. The people Aaron was chasing. The first gunshot shattered the cabin window. Glass exploded inward. The dog lunged toward the door. And everything went dark. The second gunshot tore through the front wall. Wood splintered. Plaster dust filled the air. Emma dropped to the floor on instinct, the flash drive clenched so tightly in her fist it cut into her palm. The dog didn't hesitate. It moved. Not wild. Not panicked. Tactical. It lunged toward the rear of the cabin just as Caleb grabbed Emma by the collar of her coat and dragged her behind the overturned table. Back door, he hissed. Sheriff Pierce was already moving, blood seeping through his sleeve where the dog had struck him. This wasn't supposed to happen, he muttered. Who are they? Emma demanded, breath ragged. Pierce didn't answer. Another shot cracked. The lantern exploded in sparks. Darkness swallowed the room again, broken only by headlights cutting through shattered glass. The engines outside idled low, controlled. Patient. Not amateurs. The dog barked once near the back wall. Caleb shoved open the rear door. Cold night air rushed in. Run, he told her. Emma didn't argue. The forest swallowed them whole. Branches clawed at her coat as she stumbled over roots and rock. Behind them, boots pounded through the cabin. Voices barked clipped commands. Professional. Disciplined. Not local drunks protecting a stash. The dog ran just ahead of Emma, doubling back when she faltered, guiding rather than fleeing. Caleb stayed at her shoulder. Pierce followed, breath heavier but steady. You said you were containing this, Caleb snapped under his breath. I was, Pierce shot back. Until someone else decided to accelerate it. Emma nearly tripped. What does that mean? Pierce didn't answer immediately. Because he didn't need to. The engines. The timing. They hadn't followed Emma. They had been coming anyway. For the drive. Or for Caleb. Or for Pierce. Or for Aaron. The thought stopped her cold. Aaron had sent a copy. To someone. Where would he send it? She gasped. Pierce grabbed her arm, pulling her behind a thick pine trunk as beams of light sliced through the trees behind them. He had a contact, Pierce said quietly. State investigative reporter. Freelance. Used to work major corruption cases. Emma's mind latched onto it. Name. Pierce hesitated. The dog growled low at his delay. Pierce exhaled. Lena Mireles. The name hit Emma like a bell. She remembered it from a half-finished email draft Aaron had left open weeks ago. He'd closed the laptop when she entered the room. Said it was nothing. It hadn't been nothing. Another flashlight beam skimmed past their hiding place. Caleb leaned close. "We can't outrun them forever." "No," Pierce agreed. "But I know somewhere we can slow them down." Emma stared at him. "Why should I trust you?" she demanded. His face in the moonlight looked older than she'd ever seen it. "Because if they wanted me alive, they wouldn't be shooting." That was answer enough. Pierce led them off the logging trail and down a steep ravine slick with runoff. Emma slid twice, knees burning, but the dog stayed pressed against her side, steadying her with its body weight. Behind them, voices grew fainter. Then split. They were spreading out. Hunting. They reached an old culvert beneath the abandoned rail spur that cut across the north ridge of Blackstone Hollow. The concrete tunnel was narrow but deep enough to conceal them. Pierce crouched at the entrance. "We wait," he whispered. Emma's lungs burned. Her hands shook, not from cold now, but from adrenaline and something deeper. Understanding. She turned to Pierce. "You didn't kill him," she said quietly. "No. But you let it happen." The words weren't accusation. They were fact. Pierce didn't look at her. "I thought I could manage it," he admitted. "Divert pressure. Reassign patrol routes. Keep Aaron busy on smaller calls." "He wasn't stupid," Caleb muttered. "No," Pierce agreed. "He was principled." Emma swallowed hard. "He trusted you." Pierce's jaw tightened. "That's what made him dangerous." The dog rested its head lightly against Emma's knee. She placed her hand on its neck without thinking. Warm. Solid. Alive. "What's his name?" she whispered. Pierce glanced at the animal. "Valor." The name settled in her chest. "You knew him well," she said. Pierce nodded faintly. "He was partnered with Agent Brooks. Task Force lead." "Where's Brooks?" Caleb asked. Pierce's silence was immediate. And telling. Emma felt the answer before he spoke it. "Dead," she whispered. Pierce gave a small nod. "Officially overdose," he said. Unofficially, he was about to testify. Emma closed her eyes briefly. A pattern. A corridor. Loose ends. The dog hadn't appeared at the funeral by accident. He had appeared because he remembered. Because Aaron had been the last person Brooks met before he died. The last voice on that damaged radio. The last transmission stored on the drive now cutting into Emma's palm. Headlights flickered above the ridge. They were searching outward now. Expanding the grid. Caleb leaned closer. "We can't just sit here. We need to move toward town." "No," Emma said. Both men looked at her. She met Pierce's eyes. If Aaron sent a copy to Lena Mireles, then she's either sitting on it, or she's already in danger. Pierce's face hardened. She was supposed to wait for confirmation. Emma gave a hollow laugh. "You think she did?" The dog lifted its head, ears pricked. Footsteps above. Closer. Time thinning. Emma made her decision. "We go to her," she said. "Now." Pierce studied her for a long second. Then nodded once. Lena Mireles rented the apartment above Blackstone Hollow's only pharmacy. She'd arrived in town 3 weeks ago, claiming she was researching rural healthcare access. No one questioned it. Small towns rarely do. When they reached the edge of town, sirens wailed, not police sirens. Fire engines. Caleb's face drained of color. The pharmacy glowed orange against the night sky. Flames licked through the upstairs windows. Emma's stomach dropped. "No," she whispered. They stopped at the edge of the alley across from the building. Firefighters battled the blaze. Townspeople gathered in stunned clusters. Sheriff Pierce stared. "They're cleaning house," he murmured. Emma turned to him slowly. "You said he sent a copy." Pierce nodded. "And you said you've been trying to find out to who." His eyes met hers. Realization dawned simultaneously. "You never found it," she said. "No." Emma lifted her hand. Opened her palm. Revealed the flash drive. Pierce's breath caught. Aaron hadn't mailed a copy. He hadn't uploaded it. He had hidden it. In the radio. And trusted. Valor. The dog shifted at her side as if understanding. Aaron must have known the task force would seize equipment. Must have known Pierce would have to file reports. So he'd removed the only thing no one could easily silence. The dog. Emma felt the pieces align with terrible clarity. Aaron hadn't trusted the system. He had trusted instinct. And loyalty. Brooks trained valor, Pierce said slowly. If Aaron met Brooks before he died, he would have known about the dog, Emma finished. Caleb's voice was tight. He hid the drive in the radio. Made sure the dog stayed close to it. And when the radio was moved, Pierce murmured. Valor followed, Emma said. To the cabin. To the grave. To her. The pharmacy roof groaned as part of it collapsed inward. The crowd gasped. Emma felt grief shift inside her again. Not sharp this time. Steady. Purposeful. They think they destroyed it, she said quietly. Pierce looked at her. What are you going to do? Emma held his gaze. What Aaron started. Caleb studied her. That means leaving, he said. Going public. Federal. Pierce flinched almost imperceptibly. Emma saw it. You're afraid, she said to him. Yes. Of prison. No, his voice was honest now. Raw. Of what happens to this town when the headlines hit. Emma looked at the burning building. At least it'll be the truth. Silence stretched between them. Finally, Pierce removed his badge. Not ceremonially. Not dramatic. Just a quiet, tired motion. He placed it in Emma's hand. I should have stood beside him, he said. The admission hung heavier than confession. The dog nudged Emma's leg gently. She closed her fingers around the badge and the drive together. Metal and memory. Betrayal and proof. She met Pierce's eyes one last time. You still can. Dawn broke gray over Blackstone Hollow. By then, Emma, Caleb, and Valor were on the highway heading south. Pierce had stayed behind. To hold the line. To stall. To answer questions when the calls started coming. Emma didn't know whether he would survive the week politically. Or physically. But for the first time since the coffin lowered into the earth, she felt Aaron beside her, not as loss. As momentum. Valor rested his head against her knee in the passenger seat, eyes half closed but alert even in stillness. She ran her fingers through his fur. You remembered, she whispered. The dog's tail thumped once against the seat. Mountains receded in the rearview mirror. Small. Distant. But no longer silent. Emma looked down at the flash drive. It felt lighter now. Because the weight had shifted. From fear to truth. And somewhere behind them, in a quiet cemetery, fresh earth settled over a coffin that no longer held all its secrets. The howling had stopped. Not because the dog had forgotten. But because he had finished what he came to do.